Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are breaking down one of the most important blueprints in all of digital security, the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. We're going to take these expert guidelines and turn them into a clear, visual plan for building your very own digital fortress.
Think about it. In the world we live in now, trying to protect an organization's data feels a lot like trying to defend a kingdom. The problem? The threats are totally invisible, and they're coming from all directions at once. Without a clear plan, you are on a fast track to absolute chaos, confusion, and some really costly breaches.
But here's the good news. We don't have to invent a defense strategy from scratch. There is an expert-designed blueprint that brings order to all this chaos. It's from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST for short, and you can just think of it as the master plan for your digital kingdom's security.
So here's how we're going to walk through it all. First, we're going to lay out the master blueprint with govern. Then we'll take a good look around our kingdom with identify and build up our defenses with protect. After that, we'll talk about what happens when, not if, you're under attack. And finally, we'll wrap up with why this whole framework is so important for pretty much everyone. All right, let's dive right in with the first function, govern. This one's all about the big picture strategy. It's the kind of high-level planning the kingdom's rulers do before a single stone of the fortress is even laid. So, what does govern actually mean in practice? Well, it really boils down to a few key things. First, you've got to define the mission. What are you protecting, and why does it matter? From there, you set your risk appetite. How much risk are you willing to live with? Then you establish really clear rules so everybody knows exactly what their job is. And finally, you create the policies, basically the official laws of the land. Governance makes sure all your security efforts are pointed in the same direction as your main goals. Okay, now that we have our rules, let's move to the next logical step, identify. The idea here is so simple, but it is absolutely critical. You can't protect what you don't even know you have. This is all about taking a complete inventory of your kingdom. So step one, you catalog every single piece of hardware, every computer, every server, every device. Step two, you list out all the software and systems running on them. Then step three is huge. You map out how data actually flows between all these different parts. And maybe most important of all, that final step, you have to prioritize your assets to figure out what your crown jewels are. The super critical data that needs the absolute strongest protection. So once we know exactly what we need to defend, well, now we can actually start building our defenses. And that brings us to the protect function. This is the fun part. It's where we build the walls, train the guards, and install all the locks on our digital fortress. Protect covers all those proactive things you do to stay safe. We're talking about technical stuff like platform security, literally hardening the walls of your castle, and data security, which is kind of like locking up the treasure chests with strong encryption. But it's also about the people. Things like strict access control, deciding who gets which keys, and awareness and training to turn your own people into the best, most vigilant guards you have. Now here's a crucial concept that falls under protect, the principle of least privilege. It's a really simple idea. You only give people the keys to the rooms they absolutely need to do their job, right? I mean, you wouldn't give the castle baker the key to the royal treasury. Just following this one principle can dramatically, and I mean dramatically, reduce your risk. But look, no matter how high or how thick your walls are, no fortress is ever completely impenetrable. Let's be real, an attack is eventually going to happen. And that's exactly why the framework gives us a clear, coordinated plan for defending the siege. This whole incident lifecycle is just a brilliant sequence of events. First, you detect the threat, just like a watchtower spotting an enemy army on the horizon. Then, you respond. You have to take immediate action to contain that attack and limit the damage. Once the threat is gone, you recover, repairing the damage and getting back to normal. And finally, the most important part, you improve. You learn from what happened to make your defenses even stronger for next time. It creates this amazing, continuous loop of resilience. Okay, so we've walked through the whole blueprint, but why is this structured approach just so valuable? Why does it matter for any organization, whether you're a tiny business or a massive global enterprise? Well, it's because in a world with a million different threats that are changing all the time, this framework gives everyone a single common language and a logical process to follow. It gets everybody from the IT team all the way up to the boardroom on the exact same page about how to manage risk. At its heart, the framework is really just a system designed to be flexible.
It transforms cybersecurity from this constant state of reactive panic into something proactive, something manageable, and something that's just a core part of doing business. So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that effective cybersecurity isn't some kind of secret, complex magic. Nope. It's a structured discipline. And the NIST framework gives you the map and the tools you need to build a defense that's tough, resilient, and ready for whatever the digital world throws at it. So, the only question left is, what's your first move?